Hello YouTube, my name is Milan and on this channel I do art tutorials, speed art challenges and art reviews. Some people like me cannot get accepted at a college or university for the art course they desire. In today's video I will show you that you don't need an art degree to make some cool digital 2D art. I've previously done a video like this recently, however I feel like it was all over the place and not organized. So today I will be timestamping the video so you can get a better understanding of the stages being covered so it is more concise. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and like the video. It really helps me grow my channel, which will help me create more cool videos for you. Today we are going to make a digital painting of one of the characters from the game Little Nightmares 2. I find the cheapest options for you so art is more enjoyable. All you need is Adobe Illustrator open and a mouse. We do not need a stylus or a drawing tablet. I'm going to rename layer 1 to background. Next, copy this layer by dragging it to the plus icon at the bottom of the tab. I'm renaming the copy to reference as we are going to use it to give us a guideline of the shadows. Drag your reference layer image to the side of the page. With the reference layer selected, go to the Properties tab and select Image Trace and select 16 colors. Now you can see the shadow layers we will use as the guideline. Now select the background image and go to the Properties tab and change the opacity to around 50%. We do this to make a differentiation between what is our work versus the background image. Now create a new layer and rename it to linework. This layer will be used to create the form of our little character here. After that, lock the other two layers in place so they can't move. Now with the linework layer highlighted, select the ellipse tool and change the fill and stroke options. You want to have the stroke deactivated and the fill set to black. Now draw a thin ellipse across your image. The key is to make sure the ellipse has sharp edges, much like a stylus pen stroke. Zoom into about 1200 to 1600% and make the ellipse as thin as possible. Now go to your brushes tab and select the plus to make a new brush and select art brush. Rename it to art brush and leave all other options alone and hit OK. To see if it's worked, select the paintbrush tool and flip the stroke and fill options around. Now draw a line. If it looks like mine, then it's worked. Double click the brush tool and make sure the smoothness is set to the max for more control. Okay, let's begin with the line work. Play around with your stroke thickness until you are happy. 1 point works well for me. Now I get to work outlining my figure, making sure it's accurate but don't be too harsh on yourself. I reduced my thickness to 0.75 for the different wrinkles on the face. This helps create depth perception, whereas if I used one thickness throughout the entire artwork, it would appear flat. If details are hard to draw, you can always zoom in to get an easier stroke. I repeat this process throughout the whole body. Here's a time lapse. Now that the line work is done, hide the background layer and look at your sketch and see if you have everything down. Now we are going to create a new layer and name it base color layer. In this layer we lay down all the basic colors of our character. Now drag the line work layer to the top of our other layers and then lock it. Now unhide and unlock the background layer. Select the image and bring the opacity up to 100%. Next, select the eyedropper tool and find a nice base color for the face of our figure. Don't go too dark because we will still want to add shadows later. Now lock and hide the background layer and unlock the base color layer. Now we will explore two ways to put down the colors. Go to the Brushes tab and create a new brush. Select Calligraphic Brush and rename it to Full Brush. Now deactivate the Full option and keep the stroke activated. This method is manual and you can paint over the face, being careful not to overlap into the background or the clothes. The second method is more useful in the scenario. Select the pen tool and activate the fill and deactivate the stroke. Now place points on the outlines of the face that we had created in the linework layer. As you can see, the face will start to fill in with our selected color, and once this is done, play around with the opacity for a better artwork. Once this is done, we can repeat this process for the rest of the face and body. Once you are done, check your art for any missed areas or problems. If you are happy, then we can move on. This is where you will use our reference image to determine the shadows. Create a new layer and rename it to Color Overlay 1. Next, hide the base color layer and look at the darkest shadow placement on your reference image. Now double click the color panel and try to find a darker shade of the original base color for the face. Once you are happy, click OK and select the pen tool. This process is the same as the last. Find the dark shadows and place points around them, and then the pen tool will fill in those areas. You can use the curve pen tool to get accurate curves in the shadows as well. If you're like me, then you find the fill to be a little bit annoying when you're placing points, so what I do is deactivate it and reactivate it once I've completed the placement. After that, you can also play around with the opacity to get a better artwork. Once this is done, you are going to do the same process for the mid-tone layers and the lightest layer. Keep checking the reference image and plot with the pen tool. The key here is to identify the dark shadows, mid-tone shadows, and light shadows, or the light reflections. I'm going to stop talking here and time-lapse the rest of the process. I want you to observe carefully and get an understanding of the process. If you can do it once, the rest is just repetition and observing the colors and adjusting them to better suit your artwork. and you should end up with something resembling this. Obviously, you can play around with it and develop your own art style and art process, which would be ideal. I hope this helps you make more sense of how you can still create cool digital art on a budget even if you cannot get into an art college or university. I still recommend you watch my previous video on this because there's still helpful tips scattered around in there, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye.